Welcome once again to INDBEAT. I'm your host, Joe Cochran, along with Rich Cabella, my co-host. Today we're going to talk a lot of different things. The fall season getting here. If you're not excited about sports, you're not a sports fan. High school football on the horizon, along with college football, and we're going to talk some NCAA women's basketball.
I think that's going to be exciting. We have Autumn Rodemaker from University of Detroit in the studio. But I have to get back to high school football. Joe, you've been an expert of hundreds of football games. Okay, you have a top 5, top 10 that we like to definitely take a look at.
Yeah, we'll start with high school football, and I tell you, it was tough to get a top 5. But you know what? I'm going to put 4 defending state champions in there. Orchard Lake St. Mary's, Clarkston, which knocked on the door, Grand Rapids Christian, which is just loaded, even though they graduated Drake Harris. Cass Tech's won 2 titles in a row. They got a junior quarterback coming back to try to win his 3rd. And Birmingham Brother Rice and Al Fracassa, he will say goodbye, but will he do it with a 3-peat? We'll find out. But those are my top 5.
What do you think about a 6?
You know, it was very tough to leave a few teams out of there, but if I had to squeeze a 6th one in there, everybody's talking about Southfield. They've got several D1 prospects. I think Southfield is going to be the sleeper, if not one of the favorites this year.
Now let's talk a little bit of transition into college football.
Let's
it's
do it.
Amazing that I could look at you guys and sit there and say that college football is right on the horizon. University of Michigan takes on Central Michigan in the big house at the end of September. We're going to talk a little bit about, Joe, how important it is that Michigan State could have good programs. Tell me about Brady Hoke.
I think Brady Hoke is a fine coach. He's got the program going. A lot of people are talking about having it cleaned up after Rich Rod. I think they've done that. They've gotten over the first hurdles. Now the pressure's on Brady Hoke to win.
What do you think about Fitz Toussaint being a running back?
I think he's going to be tough. I think it's going to really lead up to the quarterback and that offensive line. Does Gardner give him some great quarterback play? The offensive line there, does that open up things for him?
Now, the schedule, you can definitely look like playing Ohio State possibly in 2 back-to-back games later on this year, possible Big Ten championship situation. They got Nebraska. It's not going to be easy for the University of Michigan. But if you took a look at Michigan State, Andrew Maxwell has got a lot to work on, but I think their offense is going to be pretty surprising.
Exactly. Can their defense do the job? The green and white really expect to contend, and I think they have a cream puff schedule the first half of the season.
Let's look at the top 10 here. You got Joe's
take a
great
look.
Top 10, and they had no surprise Alabama, but I got to ask you, what's Georgia in the middle of this?
Georgia. They graduate a lot of people on the defensive side of the ball. They open up at Clemson, but they've got so many of their tough games at home. That's why I give Georgia a slight nod to get to the number 2 spot, and almost all their offensive weapons are back. They're going to be very strong offensively.
What is the deal with Oregon? Oregon has always been there.
I did not like to put Oregon in there. I thought they'd be on probation. I helped write one of the stories that broke the recruiting scandal there, but they did not suffer any penalties as far as bowls. They will stay in the top 5. I think they're tough. They're strong. Kelly has left to go to the Eagles, so I put Oregon in there. 3 and 4. I hope I'm kind of rooting for one of those teams not to get there because they're just coming off probation and they've had some pretty tough allegations thrown at them. But 10, Florida State. I think they're overdue. LSU's always there with the Mad Hatter, Les Miles. Stanford, number 8. They'll move it offensively. Texas A&M would have been my number 2 team, but I just don't know what's going to happen with Johnny Football. Clemson is going to be a beast at home. 6. South Carolina 5, and of course we talked about the top 4. Alabama, the team to beat. And you know what? That's what everybody's saying in the polls. If I can't help it, they are loaded.
Again, Alabama is my team, and we're on the same page. Speaking of which, right around the corner is college basketball. We're back with Autumn Rodemaker, the head coach of the University of Detroit Women's Mercy Titans, right after this timeout. Young & Sons Construction in Farmington Hills. They are the drying and restoration specialist in Farmington Hills. Contact their office on toll-free number 888-646-6426.
Hello, this is Dave Bergman. You are watching INDBEAT Detroit.
And welcome back to INDBEAT Detroit here. Rich Curbello, Young & Sons, thank you for this wonderful studio. We have a guest here, Joe, Autumn Rodemaker, the head coach of the women's University of Detroit basketball team. Autumn, welcome to the studio. I do have to ask you that ultimate question. How's this year's team look?
You know what? I think we're doing a great job. Our kids have been in summer school. They've been utilizing the weight room. They've been out on the court playing a little open gym. We just recently got a new strength coach, and he has them up at 7 a.m., so he's establishing quite a bit of discipline in our girls. They thought they were on summer vacation, but obviously that wasn't the case. So we had everybody back, and they absolutely have worked their tails off. We are super young. We do have some experience, but they're all on board to win that Horizon League Championship tournament and get to the NCAA.
Autumn, I'm a huge basketball fan. I broadcast high school, love the college game, love the NBA. Sometimes you just can't get away from it. I'm really thrilled to hear this. We should change this segment to INDBEAT. But you know what? You're coming off some success last year. Break down your division this year. What can you do? Get to that next level, and get to the NCAA tournament.
You know what's great? We were actually able to go into the WBI, which is the CBI of the men's tournament. So I always have to kind of make that clear. But it was a postseason tournament, and we ended up playing into late March, which took us to only about 3 weeks left of school. So I think anything outside of playing postseason basketball is going to be a real disappointment. So a lot of our kids have that experience now in that tournament, and of course we're very excited about cutting down the nets for the WBI, but certainly our goal was always the NCAA tournament. So the team in our league has always been Green Bay, that has won the conference year after year consecutively, and they're always the team to beat. And so now with our team, we kind of mirror them a little bit in our play, because now our strengths have become guards, and we're looking to get up and down. We're looking to get transition. We have excellent three-point shooters. So at this point, we're going to like to spread you out and drive and pitch and play an entirely new style of play, but is very similar to the Green Bay Phoenix, who have won it the last 20 years, it seems like.
Well, I'll say to you this, Adam. I don't know what you've done to these teams, but you've made them champions. They are defending Coach of the Year of 2010. I have to tell you, you've won a lot of games basically with your will. How do you do that with these girls?
You know what? I think that when I'm in this venue, I'm very personable and fun, and I can be outgoing, and then it just seems like this light switch goes on the court where it just becomes I need to win, whether it's table tennis, 1, 2, 3, 4, let's start a thumb war. I mean, whatever it is, I have to win.
Order there.
So, exactly. Game on after, right? So anyway, so when we get between those lines, it becomes you get in the zone, and you just can't stomach the thought of not coming up victorious in that game. So as you notice your kids, perhaps you're down 7, and it's one of those, let's take a timeout. We're right there. Let's get it going. And whatever you can do, whether it's you need to pat someone on the back and say, you know what, Rich, we really need to get this done. We really need you. We really need you to get out there and give us a little bit more. Or it's, you know what, you really need to get your butt on the glass and pull down some rebounds so that we can win this game. So it's a very intense, energized situation. And our girls have done a great job in the last 5 years of responding to those challenges. We've knocked off ranked opponents. So we have found a way somehow, some way, and I hope to carry that into this year's team too.
Well, I tell you, you reminded me of something. One of my favorite coaches of all time was Al McGuire, and he said, "I don't care if you're playing cards with your grandmother. You go to win." And I have not heard anybody with that attitude till you said that.
Exactly.
I like that. And you talked about somebody winning the division 20 times in a row. I remind everybody, Notre Dame beat UConn 3 times, but UConn beat them when it counted.
Exactly.
And that also, can you touch on that? Coming up to beat the team that's been winning all these times, and who's coming in this year that we don't know about? Who's some of the young upcoming stars and some of your big recruits coming in?
Exactly. It is one of those things where Green Bay, you have nightmares about these people, okay? Because you go up there, it's east Wisconsin, which I actually coached there. So when I did. I coached there. I said, if they just would have told me I was going to get the job, then I would have recruited bad players. So they would have been awful for the next 5 years.
That's great.
But instead, I recruited a bunch of good players, and they actually had a WNBA kid in Julie Whita. So we kind of had to wait for those kids to circle out. And by golly, they've circled out. So this is the year that we feel they're going to be an entirely new team. They do have their old coach in place,
Right.
Coach Forseth, who I worked for 3 years.
That was a little awkward.
It is a little awkward, but I will tell you, when you know the ins and outs and you know the philosophies, you try to do everything you can to attack that philosophy. So at this point in time, I don't think his kids are going to be as well schooled because they didn't grow up in the system.
Right.
So it's anybody's game. Wright State has a very prolific player in Kim Demings. Valparaiso's going to be tough. Cleveland State and Oakland's the wild card that, of course, everyone doesn't want to talk about. But this is their first year in the conference. So I really don't know what to expect for them. New coach, new team, and of course they're right up the road, so that'll be an instant rivalry.
Little rivalry
That's
indeed.
gonna be, and I know Oakland you a little bit, and they got a great little guard over there, Elena Popke.
Oh, absolutely.
Lights up, and
Absolutely.
what a pleasant person off the court, such as you are. But that should be interesting, watching her come down to Callahan.
No question.
Well, let me tell you something, Joe. This
Yeah.
is Autumn Rodemaker, the head coach. Thank you for coming in. We're going to have her in on future INDBEAT shows. We're going to be back here on INDBEAT Detroit right after this
Thanks,
timeout.
Autumn.
Young & Sons Construction in Farmington Hills. They are the drying and restoration specialist in Farmington Hills. Contact their office on toll-free number 888-646-6426.
Welcome back. That was a fabulous interview. You and D back on the map. Thank you, Autumn, for being here. We know it's getting into that season where she got to start getting her club ready.
Most definitely, but let me tell you, that is the best coach at college basketball. I want to say that and put that on record.
High praise.
She has put a big stamp on that great organization. So, Autumn, thank you for being in the studio. I got to tell you right now, NFL's right around the corner. Here we go.
If you're not a sports fan, it's NFL time. You're in your fantasy leagues, everything else. Football is here.
Our Detroit Lions, here we go. The draft picks came up extremely big. Ziggy Ansah, Darius Slay, the top two here. They played very well in preseason. Great wins against the New England Patriots. What do you think about the Lions?
You know, I think they got a chance to be good, but I hate to say anything. Exhibition football, I don't know. I remember when the Lions went 4-0 and they went 0-16 in the regular season. I've seen teams go 0-4 and win the Super Bowl. They have the talent and the pieces there. I don't know if they're going to make the playoffs or not. I got them winning 8 or 9 games. If they keep Reggie Bush healthy, I think they have a chance.
And I go into the NFC here. A complete team, but again, you have a couple questions. The San Francisco 49ers.
Yes, San Francisco was my pick last year to go to the Super Bowl. They did, but they lost the game. I had them going up against the Broncos. Green Bay is going to be very, very tough. It's a tough division. Seattle, Wilson, he's unbelievable. They got to go to Washington. They won't have the record they had a year ago, and they struggle with St. Louis. I still think that they could be a playoff team. I'm just not ready to pick them to go back to the Super Bowl.
In the AFC,
Yeah.
Von Miller, how would a bad move did it happen to them for the Denver Broncos? And look at their schedule. They don't have an easy schedule here.
Dumerville and Miller, both gone. Dumerville has signed on. Von Miller suspended for 6 games for breaking the policy there of the NFL and their drug policy. This is going to be very, very tough, but they don't have a really tough schedule. And what really benefits the Denver Broncos, I don't think the AFC is as balanced as the NFC. There's not that many teams. You have Baltimore, you have New England, you have the Broncos, and maybe a couple other teams that could be sleepers. I think Denver could get back there, even though they're facing some very tough adversity. And I love the Mannings, and they'll play in Week 2, the Manning Bowl.
And it's really exciting about the NFL, but I want to say what's more exciting. Young & Sons for having us here for these shows. So, again, for Joe Cochran, I'm Rich Curbello. Thank you once again, and we will see you in future INDBEAT shows.